Sims, let's go.
Hello everyone, it's your girl Miracle Sims and you are watching the GSL Talk Show. Tonight we'll be chatting with Miss June Edward and she's going to take us on a supernatural side in a way that you might not want to miss. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the GSL Talk Show. As you can see, I'm here with Miss June Edward. How are you, ma'am?
I'm fantastic. How are you today?
I'm good. Glad to have you here. Welcome to the GSL Talk Show.
I love your name, Miracle. Every day there's a miracle everywhere. You just proved it. Indeed. You just proved it again.
Listen, it's definitely a blessing to have the name. So look, shout out to my mama.
That's great. That's wonderful.
Yes, indeed. So tell us about you, Miss June. Tell us where you're from and just a little bit about yourself.
Originally from Massachusetts and grew up my whole life in business. My dad was in business. I was in business. Never thought I'd be doing the work that I'm doing, quite honestly, but it's kind of like people ask me, why do you do what you do? And it's like asking a priest why he's in the church. When it's your time to do something, they make sure you do it. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. I died when I was 27. I came back here by choice. Mm. I never considered it a near-death experience because I knew I died. Mm. And, scientists call it an NDE, a near-death experience, because they can't quantify it yet. When they can, they'll change the term. But I guess less than 1% of the people may make it to the level that I made it to, and had a full life review. And was told that it was not my time. I could stay if I wanted to, or I could come back. It was my choice. And it was a very difficult decision. I won't lie. It was a tough decision. I came back here for my children. Yeah. Wow. Or I would have stayed. Yeah. It's amazing. So it's real.
Look, sounds like there's so much to dive into, I guess we can first start with growing up, I guess, with the entrepreneur and then becoming an entrepreneur. That seems to be where you said your father was in business and now you are. You want to talk about that a little bit? I mean, that's a huge kind of jump. Like, was it?
So it was a huge. So it's interesting. What I've learned is that we plan the life that we have here before we come here, and. Okay. Everything happens when it's supposed to. You can't rush things. You can't change things. You shouldn't have regret because things happen for a reason. And nothing ever happens to you. It happens for you. Anything that ever happens, it's really happening for your highest and best so that you can learn something and move on to the next level, the next step. And so you would think that when I died at 27, then suddenly all my abilities would have opened up and I'd be, whoo, It didn't really work that way. I was born with a lot of psychic ability as a child. And, a lot of children are. And, they're told that it's not real, forget about it, blah, blah, blah. But for me, it really scared the heck out of me. I would hear people calling my name and think it was my parents, and it wasn't. I would see shadows and see people in my bedroom when I'd wake up in the morning, and I'd try to hide under my covers. When I was 10 years old, my parents split. My dad actually kidnapped. I'm one of 8 kids. He kidnapped the younger kids. And my job was to wash the dishes every day. And there would be a woman that would stand there and keep me company and talk to me when I did the dishes every afternoon. So I asked my brother one day who she was. I'm thinking everybody sees her, right? And he's telling me that she's the woman that used to live in the house and the guy murdered her. And it scared me so much, she never came back. Because we're all energy, This is what we really are. We're not the suit that you see sitting in front of you. We're the energy that's inside. We're pure energy. And she felt my energy. She felt the fear and she left. But it scared me. And I was very afraid of my ability. So I blocked it for most of my life. And I grew up in being exposed to a lot of different religions because apparently my mom also had a lot of ability. She was a medium and I didn't know that. My dad, when he kidnapped us, just told us she was crazy. So 50 years later, I'm studying at the same places my mom had studied at 50 years earlier, and they actually remembered my mom. I was surprised. Yeah. I reconnected with her after about 20 years and actually took care of her before she passed away. I got to see her soul leave her body. Yeah, it was really amazing.
Wow.
But so yeah, I had to go through a lot of the things that I went through, or I wouldn't be able to help the people that I do. Because it's the old adage that you've got to walk a mile in someone's shoes, right? How can I connect to someone and know what they've gone through if I haven't really gone through it myself? So I've been through a lot in my life. It has not been an easy life. And I believe that's why I wrote the out in it when I was 27. You know, when I was young growing up, I never thought I'd live to be 30. And when I hurt myself at 20, 21 or 22, I put the surgery off for 5 years because I just knew I was going to die. Your soul knows everything. It was kind of like a warning. And sure enough, when I went in for the surgery, I did die. So what I do is I teach people how energy works. I teach them how to get in touch with their soul. I teach them how to talk to angels because angels are always trying to help you. They're always around you. They're always trying to put you back on your path of where you're supposed to go and where you're supposed to be. And they talk in binary code and numbers. So if you don't know, then you're not going to see it. You're not going to understand the symbols and the things that are happening and where they're trying, what the information they're trying to give you, basically. And they're always trying to help you. Everybody on the other side, they're always around you and they're always trying to help you. Just because you can't see them does not mean they're not there. You can't see the air that you're breathing, right? But it's there. You can't see the microwaves cooking your food, but clearly it's cooking your food, right? So, you know, if you could see what I see, trust me, it's like watching an episode of The Walking Dead. They're everywhere. And when I do mediumship and I'm bringing someone through from the other side that's gone into the light, I'll end up with probably anywhere from 100 to 500 souls around, just waiting and hoping to come through because they don't want to be forgotten. They want to give messages. They want to let you know that they're here. Yeah, you remember when you go to the other side, you're the same as you are here. You just don't have a body. That's all. You just don't have the body. So you can't taste, you can't smell, you can't have sex, you can't have a lot of fun, right? So they really live vicariously through us here. You know, they used to say, set an extra plate at the dinner table, right? And they'll join you for dinner. It's very, very true. As soon as you say someone's name that's passed to the other side, they show up immediately. Immediately. Doesn't matter where they are. If they've gone into the light, they can move seconds. There they are. Yeah. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Questions?
Well, I mean, you know, I listen to so many things because I mean, I definitely want to, you know, hear more about you. What you say is should not be called a near-death experience, things like that. Like, you know, what that was and what that was like for you, things like that. If you would like to, I mean, I guess we could go there first before,
Sure.
if you wouldn't mind sharing that with us.
So the first thing that I want to say is, you know, we're in this body having a human experience. That's the reason that we're here. We come back every few hundred years or so, not just to help each other and learn something, but to enjoy it, have a little vacation on this side, okay? But we have a brain in our head because we're having a human experience. Your brain is nothing more than a computer. It's here, you know, it has a specific job. Its job is to protect you, right? So how does it do that? It does it by creating fear. So most people make their decisions based on fear. And many people fear dying. They fear going to the other side. That's the reason that there's so many ghosts hanging around, because they're afraid to go into the light. They're afraid if they go to heaven that they're going to be judged, that they've done something wrong or they're going to go to hell. They don't know. Well, first of all, I can tell you that the only people that I can't bring through that I believe are in hell are ones that have murdered someone. They've killed someone and they have no remorse. I cannot bring those people through, and I believe they're in hell. Okay. Everyone else is in heaven. It doesn't matter if you've done naughty things in this life. Trust me, you're in heaven. It all happened for a reason. It happened to teach someone something or for you to learn something. They are in heaven. That being said, when I died, I knew I was going to die before I went in. And the night before my surgery, they gave me a medication that I had had once before. I had a really bad reaction. I told them I thought I was allergic to it. They kind of poo-pooed it off. And I'm like, what do I know, right? I'm just a patient. So as soon as they gave it to me, I immediately died. And I immediately, the speed of, this is where quantum physics comes in, right? And the speed of light is like 300 million miles a second, okay? Immediately I was gone. I only made it to the fifth dimension, which is the lowest level of heaven. And I could see everything that was happening. So I could hear all the conversations in the hospital all over the place at the same time. The two nurses at the nurses station talking about the other one that just went in with the crash cart. I could see the doctor in there panicking, not knowing what to do, and then coming over with the crash cart and injecting the line and doing the paddles and tipping the table up and slapping my face. I could see all of this going on. But my focus was really on my life, because I was getting a life review. And it's almost like a 3D movie, and it opens up, and the things that they're showing you are the people that you loved, the experiences that brought you joy, everything that was meaningful for you in this lifetime. Why do they do a life review? I don't know. Maybe they were doing it to me because it wasn't my time, and they were telling me it was not my time, and I could go back if I wanted to. Maybe they were showing me those things to entice me to come back. I honestly don't know. But it was amazing. The feeling that you get when you're there, if you could wrap yourself in a warm blanket of love, is the closest thing that I could even come to. It's just pure love and pure knowledge, and you access all the knowledge from all your lifetimes at the same time. So you have all your knowledge and you have just pure love. And many of the people that have come back from having a near-death experience are depressed and commit suicide because they can't get that feeling back again. It's so intense. And I can tell you that you can get that feeling back. If you learn how to meditate and learn how to raise your vibration and get in touch with your soul, you can get that feeling back all the time. And I must do that 10, 20 times a day so that, my vibration, I believe, is much higher than most because I came back from the speed of light into this body at that speed. So I can connect to the other side in seconds. I can go back and forth to the fifth dimension at will. I read Akashic Records, which is people's book of life, which is kept in the fifth dimension. My soul can, leave my body and go through different dimensions and go to different places. And it's just amazing the ability that I have since I've come back. But even when I came back, I wasn't ready for it. You would think, like I said, at 27, you'd be ready for it. I was not ready for it still at that point. I still had a long way to go. And it was only about 10 years ago that I was having difficulty in my business and I was making decisions from my head, not my soul. And I knew they were not the right decisions, but I was making them anyways because it was desperation in my business. I was going through a second divorce, and I went to a Reiki practitioner to have some energy work done to relax. And she recommended that I meditate. And I'm like, there's no way in the world I can meditate. I'm running 5 businesses right now. I'm going through a divorce. There's no way. She's like, oh, just try it. So as soon as I tried it, it was like they kicked the door in from the other side again. And suddenly I just knew everything again. Everyone I came in contact with, I knew everything there was about them. I, was waking up in the morning with people around my bed again. I was working as a medical esthetician in my business at the time. And the first woman that came in, I'm like, this is really weird. did your aunt recently die? She goes, yeah, a couple weeks ago. I'm like, oh, how'd you know? I said, I don't know how I know. I said, did you clean our house out this weekend? She goes, yeah, we did. I said, did you find a sock puppet in the attic, from the 1950s? It looks like a monkey. She's like, we did. And I'm like, oh my God, right? Now I'm like, am I going crazy? Is she just telling me this because she wants to? I'm like, what's going on, right? The next person that comes in, I'm like, you worried about your husband for some reason? She goes, well, yeah, a little bit. I said, listen, I got something going on here. I don't know what it is. Suddenly I just kind of know all this stuff. I'm like, just kind of go along with it if you can, okay? She's like, oh, okay, sure. I'm like, do you live in a blue house near the water, kind of like an A-frame? She goes, oh, no, we live in a red house down in Barrington, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right. I said, you worry about your husband though? She goes, yeah, it's the first time he's gone to Florida without me. I said, oh, well, he's going to be fine. She goes, okay. So she leaves, and all of a sudden she comes running back into the room. And she's like, look at this, look at this. I'm like, what? And she shows me her phone. She goes, my husband sent this to me when we were having, I was having my service done. And I look at it, and it's a picture of the blue house on the water. And it says, look, I found our new house in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And then the next one that comes in, and I'm like, she comes in, and all of a sudden there's a spirit behind her of a guy in uniform. And I'm like, are you by any chance a widow? She goes, yeah, my husband passed away. So was he in the service? She goes, yeah. I said, oh. I'm like, if you had any messages or anything forward, do you want to know? She's like, no, absolutely not. So now I'm like doing this whole service, and I'm trying to tell this guy next to me, I'm so sorry. She doesn't want to know anything I'm like, what do you want me to do? I was freaking out. I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't know what to do, which is like when I was a kid again. So I went crazy trying to find people to teach me how to turn this off, because otherwise you just go crazy. And I spent a year and a half in training before I did anything. And then my education took over from the other side. And they've taught me many, many things. And I'm very grateful. It helps me to help people. That's what it does. And they teach me stuff all the time. When my mom was dying, it was really very sudden. And brought her up to her room. And thought she was going to be okay, but there was an angel in her room sitting next to the TV, and I'm like, Mom, do you see the angel sitting up on the shelf next to the TV? She's like, no, I don't see anything. And I took that as a good sign. I'm thinking, okay, she doesn't see him, so she's going to be okay. The next morning, I come back and I get met by an oncologist to tell me that there's really nothing they can do, and she's only got a few hours. And she hadn't taken any medication during the night. She refused the pain medication. So I asked her, I said, Mom, do you see the angel that's sitting up there on the shelf now? She goes, yeah, I see him. So during the night, I asked him what his name was. So he told me his name was Makael. So I looked it up, and Makael says that he's the angel that brings advanced souls to the higher realms when they pass. So I did some more research, and it's just a different way to pronounce Michael. It's Archangel Michael. Had he told me his name was Archangel Michael, I would not have looked him up. I would not have known that that is part of what he does, because I call on him constantly as my protector. So they're always educating me from the other side. So now I know that's also part of what he does.
Well, I mean, I think when it comes to the people here that probably watch you on GSL and whatnot, I mean, I think the things you're saying, it's probably going to resonate in a few different ways. I think, well, one, because I think on one hand, people may be familiar with a lot of the things you're talking about. I think people definitely have a curiosity about these things and whatnot, and so there's the type of people that are like seeking more information about, specifically what you're addressing and what you've shared and things like that. But then there's going to be people that pretty much like, I guess focus on the biblical explanations of the things that you've shared and whatnot. And so I guess for me to be this liaison, I guess, between everybody right now, basically, I guess as somebody that reads the Bible, what you're saying, it's not, I wouldn't say I believe that majority of people are familiar with the concept of, again, there being another side, and there be things that we can't see and things like that. The Bible addresses all of that and tells us all of that is accurate. Even though I don't think we focus on it as much as we should, or I don't think we pay attention to it and whatnot. Maybe we too try to suppress certain things or whatever.
Well, we get bogged down in everyday life. We get bogged down in our everyday drama or in our everyday life. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And, there's 176 recognized religions just in the United States. When you get to the other side, it doesn't matter what you call them. It doesn't matter if you call them God, Allah, Jehovah, Joah. It doesn't matter what you call them. There's only one. There's only one. And, I was exposed to a lot of different religions growing up because my mom was looking, and Protestant, Baptist, Episcopalian. There was another one that started with a B, the Baptist. Born again Christian. I was the only person that was not Catholic in a Catholic school. And they're all different. And my sister was raised Hindu. And, all these different religions, they all have very common themes running through them all. They're all right and they're all wrong. That's the bottom line. But they all serve a purpose. And if it brings people together so that they understand that we're all here for each other, we're all here to help each other. That's why we're here. No one's an island. No one gets through this alone. We're all here to teach each other and to learn from each other and to help each other and to raise each other up. And we're here to love each other. People forget that. That's the highest energy of all, is love. That's it. And when you go to the other side, you're not taking your luggage. You're not taking your new suit with you. You're not taking anything but knowledge and love. Those are the two things you're taking with you. That's all you need. It really is. And if you want to fly around down here and go visit Paris, you're more than welcome to travel as your soul, because your energy can go anywhere you want. And I find a lot of people, once they've passed, that's what they're doing. They're just, they're doing things they always wanted to do when they were here in a body and didn't have the opportunity to do. That's what they're doing on the other side for a long time. That's what I find.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, again, like I feel like, I don't know where each and every person that watches the platform, but I think majority probably would consider the Bible and whatnot and the things you're saying. And so that does sound different from at least the explanations that I'm familiar with in regards to what happens when we pass and things. So I don't know, like, what would you say to that? Because you said what you've experienced and what you saw, this is what it's like on the other side in regards to they're traveling like that. The Bible is telling us, you're either just going straight to your eternal location, at least from my understanding. Now, again, I can be correct.
So what I can tell you is
my understanding, that's what it's saying. So
what I can tell you is this. I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. If anybody wants to know my experience and know what I know, I'm more than happy to tell you. I can tell you I've never met an atheist on their deathbed. And no one should fear the other side. You shouldn't fear this side, because everything that's happening to you is happening because you wanted it to. It's an experience that you asked to have while you're here for whatever reason. We're eternally learning souls is what we are. Our souls are always learning and always progressing and advancing. And it's interesting because, when you get to the other side as well, when I say that you only bring love and knowledge, it's love for everyone and everything. Okay, it's not just love for your family and love for your friends or love for your pets. Love for everybody, whether you know them, you don't know them. And not to say that, so there's different levels on the other side as well. As it was explained to me, it's kind of like a layer cake, and you go to the layer based on how advanced your soul is in your belief system. So every archangel has a soul group, and you reincarnate every lifetime with the same people in that soul group. And there's millions and millions of people in that soul group. And I just happen to be in Archangel Michael's soul group. But, you know, you don't miraculously change into someone else because you got to the other side. So if you're a jerk here, you're a jerk on the other side. You don't suddenly change into something different. But the atmosphere itself is still, I mean, we all have, as I'm bringing souls through to the other side, they're still having their own experience, but the atmosphere itself is one of pure love. Okay. So let me give you an example. One of the first people that I brought through when I was, this started happening to me, was a friend of mine that I grew up with. And he committed suicide when he was probably around 20, in his 20s, early 20s. And we were very close. He was like a brother to me. In fact, I was the one that almost found him. I used to go over to his house with my kids and go in the swimming pool and stuff. And he was one of the first ones to come through to me. And he came through in agony because he committed suicide. He was remorseful. He was crying. Suicide is the only unacceptable out from being here, because you've now let everybody down that you were supposed to interact with while you were here living. You know, you created this whole plan of people that you were supposed to see and help and collect karma from and give to that owed you. And he was very, very hurt. And I brought that all on. I didn't at the time even know how to clear that energy off of me. For 3 days, I walked around depressed and crying. And it was probably 3 or 4 years after that, I happened to be in the area of the cemetery where he was buried. Trust me, they don't hang around cemeteries. They hang around wherever you are when you're looking for them, okay? But because I was there, I had never seen his grave. I missed his funeral for certain reasons, and I wanted to just go pay my respects and see where he was buried. And when I found where he was buried, the whole thing was open. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Well, it just so happens his parents, one or both, had just passed, and they had opened the grave because they were going to bury them. And he showed up immediately to tell me, and he was happy and told me that, yes, his parents were both on the other side. He was able to make amends with the both of them. And, you know, they forgave him for all the pain that he caused. And yeah, and he had gotten work on the other side, because we get, you know, you have to work on yourself there the same as you do here. And you can't come back and reincarnate if they don't know why you committed suicide and left, because they don't want you doing that a second time. That's just not an acceptable out. It's never written into your plan. So it was nice to see that he got the help that he needed on the other side.
Okay. You know, that I mean, it's definitely mind blowing, you know, to hear, you know, this I guess alternative way of looking at everything. I am
people have a belief,
you know,
people have a belief system based on what they are taught, right? That's what your belief system is. Until something happens. When something happens, your belief system changes, because now something happened, right? To make you believe differently. Okay? That's how it works. Trust me, I was one of the biggest doubters in the world. I did not believe in angels. I did not believe in saints. I didn't believe in any of this stuff when I was young. All I know is I saw spirits and ghosts and scared the heck out of me. That's all I know. I did not believe in any of this stuff. I knew there was a higher power. I knew there was something else. That's all I knew. Boy, do I believe it all now.
I mean, I understand. I mean, definitely if you've seen some things or whatever. I mean, I think that's the one thing that hasn't happened yet with me, is actually seeing something. But I mean, I do believe that there are, you know, angels and things of that nature. I'm not negating anything you've said or whatever. I'm just, but again, I think that when coming from the perspective of the Bible, it does sound like a little bit differently than to what you're sharing with us. But at the same time, I mean, again, we all free to choose what we believe and things like that. And then, I mean, we'll find out, like you say. I mean, exactly. When it's time for us to find out.
Exactly. So I recommend that everybody meditate, because when you meditate, you get in touch with your soul. And you get in touch with the other side, because most of your soul is not in this body. Your soul is way too big for this body. So some of your soul's in the body, and then people talk about the aura that's over, that they see over your head. That's part of your soul that's right outside your body. And the majority of your soul is in the lowest level of heaven in the fifth dimension. And that orchestrates the timing of everything that's happening in your life. So when you get in touch with your soul, you have that knowing. You're out of your head and you have the knowing. Okay, that's your soul, that knowing. And everybody's had something in their life that they've just done it because they know they're supposed to do it. Even if it's just driving to work and it's like, I shouldn't go this way, I should go a different way, and you avoided a pile up on the highway. That is your soul giving you that information. When you make a decision from your head's a computer. It's a 50-50 chance. It's a crapshoot. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, and you're always questioning yourself. When you make your decision from your soul, it's always the right decision, 100% of the time. And it always works out for your highest and best. So when you meditate and learn how to increase, raise your vibration and get in touch with your soul and listen to your soul, follow your soul. And through meditation, you'll connect with the other side. If you want to talk to your guardian angel, if you want to talk to your grandmother that passed, whoever it is, they'll come to you. They're all around you all the time. Just because you can't see them, they're there. They only want to help.
So I do have a couple of questions. One of them, I wanted to hear more about what, in regards to the help and the type of help that you are offering and giving people. I guess so we can start there if you want.
So I do lots of different things. A lot of people have not had closure with someone that's passed from the other side. So when I first started doing this, like everybody else, you start out reading cards at festivals and stuff. And the second year that I did that, I was just finishing up the whole day, and I was doing 15-minute appointments from 9 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. There was an older woman in her 80s and a younger woman sitting at a side table. And as I'm cleaning up, the woman says to me, "Oh, are you all done for the day?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm tired. I'm ready to go home." She goes, "Oh, could you do one more?" She goes, "My mom's been waiting for a couple of hours." I'm like, "Sure, bring her over." And she was late 80s. So she had a hard time coming over to the table, sat down. She goes, "I'm going to sit over here so she has a little privacy." I'm like, "Okay. So do you want a reading or do you want to talk to somebody from the other side?" "I want to talk to my son." "Okay." I said, "Do you want to talk to your dad first? I'm pretty sure that's who's been standing next to you for the last couple of hours." She goes, "Oh, okay." I said, and I can only give what I get. It's that simple. I said, "Did he drive one of those cars that you crank up?" She goes, "I have no idea." I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Did he have some occasion to be wearing a tuxedo, a top hat, and have one of those little tiny canes?" She goes, "Oh, yeah, that's my dad." I'm like, "Okay." I said, "I'm pretty sure this was your mom." I said, because... So when they come through to me, they either come the way they were prior to passing or the way they thought they looked the best in this lifetime. And if they're not very talkative, there's a lot of symbolism that they give me that means certain things to me. So the woman came over and immediately they put their arms around each other. And that to me indicates that they were very much in love when they were here on this side. So that would have been his wife. She goes, "Oh, yeah. They were very much in love when they were here." I said, "She's also wearing a ball dress and a crown on her head." She's like, "Yep, that's my mom." She goes, "I got that picture hanging over my fireplace." I'm like, "Okay." So he starts in on how he's disappointed because there was no heir to the family and she only had one son and he didn't have any children, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, "Well, there's really nothing I can do about that. But I want to talk to my son." Okay. So I described the next person that shows up. She's like, "Oh, no, that's my brother." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, your brother wants to thank you for raising him. He said you raised him. His parents didn't raise him." She goes, "Yeah, that's true. My parents were socialites and I raised him." I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Do you want to know who murdered him?" She goes, "No, I think we know who murdered him. They're in prison. We think they got the right person." I'm like, "Okay." She goes, "But he said, well, he says he had 2 children that, technically the family has gone on because he had 2 boys." She goes, "Oh my God, who were they with?" And she's like, "Oh, wait a minute. I know one of them. I thought that might've been his kid, but I was never sure." And he's like, "Yeah, that was one." She goes, "Who's the other one?" He says, "I'm not telling him because he doesn't want her to start any trouble." I'm like, "Okay." So, "But I still want to talk to my son." So we call her son again. Nobody shows up. So I asked her brother, I said, listen, there's a whole crowd of people here. Can you please get her son? So I literally see him go into the crowd and grab somebody by their arm and pull him up. So now he's standing in front of me with his head down. And I said, I described him. She goes, yeah, that's my son. I said, he's not talking to me. I said, he has his head down. I said, you think he committed suicide? And she immediately goes, yeah, he committed suicide. So immediately his head popped up and he said, no, I didn't. It was an accident. So I'm telling her, I said, he said, claims it's an accident. Now the daughter is sitting off to the side to give her mom some privacy. She comes running over. She's like, I knew it wasn't an accident. The police, kept saying it was a suicide, but his TV was on. He was cooking dinner. He had a new girlfriend. There was no suicide note. She goes, I knew he didn't kill himself. So I'm asking him what happened. And so I have an agreement with them on the other side. They can show me what happened, but they can't show me any blood and gore. I don't want to see any of that stuff. So I said, he's showing me something with his neck. I said, but it's not a hanging. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, he beheaded himself? And his mother's like, yeah, he cut his head off. I'm like, oh my God. So now he's showing me what happened. I said, first of all, he's telling me that his medication was changed. He was on a new medication. And his mom like, yeah, he had some issues and we changed his medication. I said, okay. So he's telling me that he was watching TV and he was watching them juggle chainsaws. And he went down to the barn thinking he could do that. And he was juggling a chainsaw and it slipped and beheaded him. And she's like, yep, that's exactly what happened. I'm like, wow. She's like, I have wanted to talk to him. She goes, I thought I caused him to kill himself because I was tough on him. I wanted him to have a better life and blah, blah, blah. I wanted him to get a job. And he's like, no, he's like, it was an accident. I didn't mean for it to happen. And he had been unable to come through to her all these years because he knew she was in so much pain and blamed herself. And her life was destroyed, thinking that she caused her child to commit suicide. And, it was hard for him to even come up to me to come through because he knew how much he'd let her down. So I asked her, I said, all these years, why didn't you come to see somebody like me earlier? Your life would have been so much different. It's been 35, almost 40 years since this has happened. And she told me she'd gone to every medium that she could find for the last 35 or 40 years, and no one's been able to bring him through. So right then and there, I said to myself, you know what? I don't care what anybody says. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I was able to give closure to her and help him on the other side as well, both of these people. And if somebody had been able to do that for them 35 or 40 years ago, imagine how different her life would have been. She wouldn't have gone through her whole life blaming herself for her son's death. He wouldn't have been on the other side, in the situation he's been in. When we're grieving them on this side, they can't go on the other side and enjoy their existence either, because they're pretty much stuck with us. If we're grieving, they're grieving. That's how it works. And it's no good for either side. So again, I don't care what anybody thinks or says. And, a lot of people thought I was crazy. No, I'm not crazy, really. But it gives me a lot of fulfillment to be able to help people like that on both sides. So that's some of what I do. I also help people that are on this side. I teach people how energy works. I teach them how to raise their vibration, how the law of attraction works, so that they can, because we're magnets. We're either attracting or repelling at any given time. And, the whole universe has to stay in balance. That's why there's night and day, there's left and right, there's up and down. And when you can learn how to balance your energy, the highs aren't so highs, the lows aren't so low, but you can maintain that high level of vibration, and the universe will bring you anything and everything that you want. I could tell you stories that you just couldn't believe, myself and my students that have gone through the program. Once you understand, I unteach people what they learn, because it's not always the truth, and teach them how things really work. And when you understand that, and you work with the angels and you work with the universe on the other side, life just becomes amazing. Life is amazing. We're only here for a short period of time. People should really enjoy it and embrace it.
Well, yeah, that's true in regards to, I mean, again, we would say that life is like a paper, as they say. I do wonder, like, so where would you say that God fits into your scenario? Because you talk about angels, and then you talk about, these, the people and things like that, and then us having, I guess, these different types of controls or abilities when it comes to this side or the other, and so I guess I'm just curious to know, like, where does God fit into that scenario and whatnot?
So just like we have to have purpose here, okay, your soul has to have purpose on the other side as well. So as much as souls on the other side are enjoying doing things that they want to do, like traveling and things like that, at some point in time, they settle down and are like, okay, what's my purpose over there? So they become guides to help us here. God is the source energy. He is the ultimate, but he also delegates. This is why they have archangels, angels, guides, ascended masters, gatekeepers. Everyone has a job. They have things to do. So they have purpose. That's what fulfills us, is purpose. It would be kind of a boring existence if we just lied around all day and did nothing, right? There's nothing to fulfill you at that point. It's just like having a job. When you produce something, it gives you purpose. It gives you a good feeling. When you help someone else, it gives you a purpose. It gives you a good feeling. It's your soul. It's feeding your soul. It's that love. It gives you purpose. We all have to have purpose.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I agree that we all do have purpose and everything. Again, my understanding is that a lot of that has to do with, again, the choices and things that we do here. But again, I mean, it's all of us are.
So it's interesting. The universe wants you to think you have choice. But the only choice you really have here is to delay the lessons that you're supposed to be learning. So, they'll give you door 1, 2, and 3. You take door 1, you go through it, you get married, you have a couple of kids, you get divorced. Where are you going to be? In front of door 1, 2, and 3 again. If you've learned the lesson that you're supposed to learn, you'll take a different door. Otherwise, you're going to take door 1 again. You're going to go through it. You're going to get married. You're going to get divorced. And you're going to be in front of door 1, 2, and 3 again. If you learn the lesson, you'll take door 2 or door 3. You may get married and have children again, but you're not going to get divorced for that reason, because you've learned the lesson that you were supposed to learn. And what I've learned through my program and through helping people is that we're all here for 5 soul lessons. Okay? The first one, and that's my book, All's Fair in Love and Karma, 5 Steps to Relationship Mastery. And relationship is with anybody. It's with your neighbor, your friend. We're having a relationship here. Okay? The first lesson is self-worth. And self-worth is not value. It's not how much you value yourself. Value is what other people place on you. Self-worth is knowing that you are the only one of you in this whole world. Do you know how special you are, that there is no one else like you? You're it. Okay? It is not narcissistic or selfish to put yourself first. It's where everything else comes from. If you don't take care of yourself first, you're not going to be here to take care of anybody else, are you? Happiness is an inside job. You have to make yourself happy, and then you can spread that around and share it with everybody else, and it ping-pongs back and forth. Okay? The second is trust and communication. You have to be able to communicate your wants and needs to other people. We don't know by osmosis. You have to tell them in some way, shape, or form. And you have to trust them enough to be able to tell them. You also have to trust that there is a higher power and that there is a plan for you. And everything that's happening isn't happening to you. It's happening for you. It's happening for your highest and best. Okay? And sex is just another form of communication. If you can't communicate outside the bedroom, you're not going to communicate inside the bedroom. Not going to happen. And you have unconditional love. Unconditional love is not playing the martyr and staying in an abusive relationship because you love them unconditionally. That's not what unconditional love is. It gets back to self-worth, because every lesson will reinforce the next lesson. So unconditional love is saying, listen, I love you, I care about you, I want the best for you, but this isn't working and it's not bringing me joy. So we need to part and go our separate ways. It also has to do, say I had a child and maybe your child did something horrific, like murdering a neighbor in rage or something, and they go to prison for the rest of their life. You don't like what the child did, but you still love your child. That's unconditional love. Okay. Then we have money and balance. Everything in the universe has to stay in balance. It has to. There has to be an equal exchange of energy for anything. And money is energy. That's why it's called currency. And it's what we use in this world to show whether or not you're in balance. You don't walk into a grocery store and buy a bunch of bananas and pay $1 million for it. It's not an equal exchange. Not yet, anyways. It's just like, it's just like evil. Right now, there's a war of evil and good going on in the world, and it plays out in politics. The reason it plays out in politics is because that's where the power is in the world. Okay? Has to stay in balance. And then you have patience, which is very difficult for a lot of people. We live in a world right now, which is everyone wants instant gratification. They want it now. They want it yesterday. They don't even want to do it for themselves. Well, everything happens when it's supposed to happen. You are always right where you're supposed to be. You didn't make mistakes in your past. As long as you listened to your soul and you made the best decision that you could at the time, you did what you were supposed to do. Okay? Everything is a stepping stone and a learning experience to bring you to where you are. And you have to have the patience to know that the universe is going to bring you everything at the right time. Be kind of stupid if you're sitting there at 9 years old and now you got a baby in your lap, right? Not the right time. You have to have the patience and know that everything that you want in your life may not come the way you expect it. Maybe, you thought you'd get married and have kids at the age of 30. And at the age of 45, you're getting married and you're, becoming the mom to some widower who had babies that, you don't know how it's going to come in, but guaranteed it will always come in if you've asked for it and if you've planned it. That's how it works.
I see. So I know you that's pretty much the basis of the book that you have written.
It's all fair in love and karma, and it was based on the relationship mastery program that I developed to help people with their relationships. I've found that everyone is learning and working on these same lessons. And when you understand the lesson, you understand why you're in that relationship.
Well, there you go. I mean, I do have a question. I don't know if it's going to be controversial. I'm not trying to stop, but I'm just thinking again, the things that people would ask here on this platform, or as they were watching, they're probably like, why didn't you ask this? So I would ask this, and then I'll leave the floor to you, so we can wrap up or whatever the case may be. Or if you say, I don't want to answer that question.
I'll answer anything. If I can, I'll answer it.
Yeah. Well, basically, I'm wondering, so what would you say to individuals that, pretty much believe that, we are not supposed to, have these type of conversations with, the other side and things of that nature. Like, I guess that's the best way to ask it. Like, what would you say to that? Like,
so everybody again is on a different level. Okay. With their experience, their education, their belief system. It's just like me asking a doctor, he read something in a book and this is how he's going to treat me. And when I ask him something else, he doesn't have the capacity to think outside that box, unfortunately. So people can extrapolate anything they want from anything. Okay. The Bible has been written, rewritten, translated. There's books missing. So again, people are going to take their belief system from what they want. And there's lots of places and things that you can read into the Bible, but again, I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. If I resonate with you for what I have to say and what I'm telling you, that's all I can do. If it makes you think outside the box and maybe do a little bit more research on your own so that your belief system changes based on your experiences because you start experiencing something differently, that's a wonderful thing. Right now we're in a mass awakening. And, the only religion I'll say that I think is not good is one that doesn't preach love. And I know those are out there, Satanism is a religion if you want to get down to it. And it's certainly not preaching love, is it? So, there's good and bad in the world. Again, everything has to stay in balance. We're experiencing a mass awakening right now in the world, which is a wonderful thing. And if it brings everyone into the light, that's my goal, is to try to help move people into that light. And if I can answer questions for them and help them with what I've experienced and what I'm able to do, that's all I'm here to do. I've hit a point in my life, you get to a point, you get old enough, and I'm older than a lot of people think, but you hit a certain age that, I'm here to do what I'm supposed to do. And I take the daggers, I take the arrows, I take whatever. It doesn't matter. It kind of rolls off my back like a duck. And if it didn't, I wouldn't be able to do the work. It's that simple. It's that simple. Because one of the biggest problems with a lot of mediums is they don't say what they get. They don't give what they get because they're afraid that, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Somebody's going to think I'm nuts. I don't care. Just like me telling this woman that, your dad have a crank car and a top hat. And I'm like saying to myself, where is this stuff coming from? This is like out there, right? I can only give what I get. I've worked on murder cases. I've worked on missing person cases. I've worked on all kinds of things. I give what I get. If it helps, it helps. And that's my goal, is to help. That's all I can do. And that's all I can say.
I understand. Well, is there any other things you would like to say before you go?
If anyone wants to learn more about me, they're welcome to go to my website, juneedwood.com. They can find me on social media. There are links to all of my books. All's Fair in Love and Karma just hit #1 on the bestsellers list about 2 weeks ago. It is available in audio as well. Maybe it'll open your eyes. You never know. No one should be closed. They should be open to different perspectives, if nothing else. Right? There's no harm in learning.
Indeed. Thank you so much for visiting us, Miss June.
Well, thank you for having me. You have a wonderful holiday and a beautiful smile.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so much for watching the GSL Talk Show, and thank you to Miss June for sharing her life and endeavors. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and have a great night.